So does the wet weather, Leppa, does that make it easier or harder for you blokes on Saturday?
Makes it harder for the fans, I think. They're not normally good games to watch when they're pouring down rain, but they're pretty simple games in the wet, aren't they? Contested footy and get the ball running forward. It doesn't become a complicated game, and it actually, the game becomes its purest probably in the wet. So it'll just be really who could tough it out the most. So look, I guess the forecast said it's sticking around, but time will tell.
What have you guys been working on this week, Coach?
We've been working on a lot of things, but funny enough, we saw some good improvements last week. We had 9 goals kicked against us from turning the ball over, so that's never a good thing. A lot of those things aren't effort related. It's more a little bit of temperament, skill, things like that. So, but at least we were able to move the ball a little bit better and those sorts of things. Our competitiveness was a little bit better again. So, so I think there's a lot of things that have been a positive from last weekend comparing from the previous two. But baby steps. We'll train hard again today. We had a really good session last week, and the guys are really focused. So, do that and. That's it. That's all you can do, and then put your best team out there to take on the Suns.
You said after the game that how the boys trained this week would dictate how you go on Saturday. How have they trained? What's sort of been the attitude?
Well, we're about to have our main session now, mate, so I'll let you know in a few hours. But look, they have been really good. The one thing about this group, they're really upbeat and want to improve, and they're sponge for improvement, and that's what we need. It's very hard when you've got a young group that's focusing and dwelling on the negative all the time. We need to stay upbeat and positive and know where our improvements are, and they've been doing that pretty well. So but we just have to continue that cycle, and things turn around as it did last year for us. Yeah.
How have you been enough, Pete?
Sorry, mate. This one. Rocky was fine. Yeah, no, he was fine. Obviously, he's a little bit underdone. Nothing to do with his ribs or anything like that. But he's definitely from a playing standpoint, we probably underestimated the fact that he missed a few games, and his physical conditioning probably was more the point more than his ribs itself. Yeah, he'll just play his mid-roll as normal this week.
Do you fault the effort over the last couple of weeks, or do you think there's been a lack of?
Well, look, the effort fluctuates in every team at every moment. You're looking for 100%, and at times there's a reason it doesn't. I mean, funny what pressure and fatigue does to people. Makes cowards of us all. If you're completely tired and fatigued, it's very hard to go again sometimes, and sometimes they're the reasons. But you try and take each individual effort on its merits, and sometimes it is because it's just not good enough, and other times it's because of a body positioning. It's things that take time, and time in the gym and time out in the track, and other times it's just lack of concentration. And we try and nut all those down into those categories, so it's not all encompassing any particular week, any particular action. It's just we have to treat everyone on its own merits, and we do that every week, and pretty professional nowadays. I mean, the players get a lot of feedback, probably too much feedback, some would argue, on their game.
What have you thought of your midfield pressure, Leppa? Just on pure numbers alone, a lot of those numbers are down for tackling.
The tackle numbers are low probably because our first possession numbers are high. I mean, we're getting our hands on the ball a lot, so that's you get your hands on the ball, you don't tend to tackle. The problem is we haven't sort of converted those into clearances, and a lot of fumbling is sort of crept into our game because we're getting to the ball first and fumbling a little bit. So that's been a work on for our mids, and it was a little bit better on the weekend, but I think we're even in first possession but lost clearance by 9, so that number's still skewed. You'd like to think they marry up together evenly, but they haven't been. So once again, they just work on. There's things you can practice and extra touch and things at training to get right. So we've been really at a strong focus on that as well.
How do you see that midfield this weekend? Because they've obviously lost another one this week with Swallow, so they've missing probably their 3 best midfielders.
Yeah, they're probably almost decimated more than us, the Gold Coast. So it's hard when you're losing players, and it's funny this year in AFL. There's a lot of good players going down. It's a bit tough for the game, but look, and that's what happens. I think Gold Coast has got as many challenges as us as far as injuries and those sorts of things, and you just got to find a way through it. Players have to be mentally resilient. You're going to have conditions that aren't going to be conducive to nice ball movement probably, and it's going to be a tough game mentally for a lot of players this week, but whoever toughs it out the best to win the game, that's just what this week will bring.
Do you think if you pressure them in that area, you can get on top through that?
No doubt. Every team's got to bring their pressure, and we're no different. We talk about it every week with our players, and some weeks and some instances we do it well, others not, but we look to bring that every week. I mean, when we're playing well, our front half turnovers were really good. They've dropped away a little bit since the start of the season, but we've crept them back up a little. So yeah, all those indicators we look at and we try and train, and as you said, sometimes when you've got a few things to look at, you've got to really focus in on the 1 and 2 that will really help.
You've already seen your players this week, Leppa. Like, well, kids make mistakes, but they try. But do you think you need more out of these senior blokes?
Well, look, if you're looking just in last week, I thought, you know, when your better players are the blokes, probably the 3 reserve blokes that come up, you know, it's probably not a good day when your better players aren't your best players, and that's, you know, credit to the guys coming in, Cuts and Robbo and Mitch Golby, but I thought they were probably our better players. Yet, you know, it'd be nice when your best players play well and those guys can play roles. I think when the team will be going well, and let's hope our better players. We had it down last week, let's be honest, lift in that area.
Did you feel for Clarko over the weekend? You did the incident in Adelaide.
Oh, here it goes. This is the quote, isn't it? This is the one you're going to grab. Yeah, no, we've done all the warm up for this one, have we? Oh, great. Oh, look, it's twofold, isn't it? You know, our job is to restrain ourselves, no matter what happens. Basically, that's the mantra. It's tough at times, but that's what we get told to do. So there's that side of it, and then the other side is how far can the public go, isn't it? Really. You know, that's it, and if that's acceptable from a public perspective, and they're the two conversations. And obviously Clarko has already said, look, in a perfect world you don't cross the line. And I don't know what's going on with the other dude though. I don't know whether his parents have come out and issued saying that's poor parenting by them and the kids shouldn't do things like that, and that I'm ashamed of his actions. I'm not sure whether that's happened or not, but you know, I'd like to think also the public can be respectful of people in their positions. So, but yeah, not really my my issue, but it might happen to me one day. Who knows? So.
Coach, you guys give up head starts a lot of the time. Is that an issue you think about much?
Yeah, it's not a deliberate thing, that's for sure. We don't want to give up starts. I mean, the first 3 goals of the game last week were from errors. Just, you know, Tommy Cutler gave away a couple, I think, just kicking the ball back. So look, and whenever that happens, bad turnover, goal immediately, and happens a couple of times, you look up the scoreboard, you're already 18 points down before you've really even started. It can be a bit demoralising, and they're the moments the team has to sort of rally and not so much worry about the scoreboard, but treat every instance to say, look, if we tidy up these mistakes, we'll be okay. But sometimes the emotion can get to players, and they use the scoreboard as a way to dictate the next action. Well, you shouldn't. You should just put it behind you and keep going. So we talk about those things as well.
But how hard to sell is it going to be this weekend to local footy fans? I guess you said before it's going to be footy at its purest. So yeah. I mean, how do you see it?
Well, I guess it's not my job to sell the game and that. I mean, that's for others, but it is difficult, no doubt, when you've got the 2 Queensland teams, you know, at the bottom of the ladder. Not easy. Both decimated with injuries, and their best players out. Doesn't help, does it? It's not great for the state, not good for footy. So that's just the way it goes. I think, you know, one thing fans have to be now is loyal to the teams in the game, because we all have tough times in life, but we have to stick fat through tough times. That's just the facts of life. And you enjoy the good times, as happened to the Bears in the early 90s. Got to enjoy it in the early 2000s. So it's just the reality of the cycle.